Hello everyone, this is the Crypto Market Journey by Dylan Patrick McMahon. This is a series on how I navigate the crypto markets operating on a 4-year cycle basis. Today we will be going over portfolio update and Bitcoin's next move, episode 3, Your Move. So I want to basically go over why I haven't really been uploading. Very simply put, I haven't really had much to really talk about. You know, guys, like this is financial markets, and when you're investing for the long term, you really don't really have much to really talk about, right? um, but so yeah, that's basically why I haven't been uploading. You know, I'm not this type of person that you're really gonna see who's constantly always just pushing out videos, unless they're shorts. Then there's not really gonna be that much. But yeah, however, I have got something cool at the end of the video if anyone's interested, so make sure you watch from the beginning until the end. So without further ado, let's get into it. Portfolio update and Bitcoin's next move, episode 3, Your Move. So this is the current portfolio as it stands right now. I'm currently sitting in 10% in Bitcoin, 30% in alts, and basically 60% in cash. For the alt positions, that's not what I'm going to be talking about today. If you want to know about my altcoin positions, message me yourself. The cash positions will be waiting to be allocated into Bitcoin very soon. But let's talk about my reduction within Bitcoin, because it wasn't that long ago that actually my Bitcoin position was actually 70%, but now it's 10. So let's go over it. So pretty much back at December 16th, I basically decided to cut a large amount of my Bitcoin position, and to be honest with you, a bit of my altcoin positions. And I'm just going to be going over why I did this and why my algorithm told me to do so. So, and just so you all know, and just so you can all see yourself, this is my algorithm over here. Link will be in the description if you want to buy it yourself. But very simply, the algorithm basically told me to cut positions here. I basically cut them a day late. Market's still pumped. And what's actually funny is you can literally see I sold the exact top, which I find is kind of funny. How I was literally able to sell the exact top. Now, of course, we did come for a retest, and the Swick actually did go a bit higher, but I mean, I missed out on, what did I sell? 16th over here. I missed out on 3%. Like, seriously, I could not care less about 3% at all. But throughout that, I've basically been able to save myself basically a 24% decline from the top, which I find is very nice. So let's go over why my algorithm told me to do this and all that. So let's go. So as I said in past episodes, I've gone over what real data is, and it's a key factor to my success in the financial markets. It simply tells me what the 99% of losing retail do and what the 1% of winning retail do. And within this information, it gives me an unfair advantage / edge. Now, if you want to actually go over and look at what real data I use, I actually went over this in episode 1, so I would recommend checking it out. But let's go over basically the data that I was seeing at December 16th and why I basically decided to sell the top. So let's understand this concept of driver versus hype. So what is the main drivers of the market versus plain hype? So main drivers are such things such as M2, global liquidity, ETFs inflows, and Bitcoin strategic reserve buying. Now what is hype? Trump winning, a Bitcoin strategic reserve, buy the rumor, sell the news, which means the Bitcoin strategic reserve hasn't been made yet. It's just the sign and saying of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and retail buying. So let's hop on the charts. So basically, throughout this entire move here, that we basically saw Bitcoin go from basically, what was that? 66,000 all the way up to 108,000. We basically saw Bitcoin do a 63% move. But why was this? Very simply, it was because of Trump, right? I want us to take a step back to basically this pump over here, right? Which was actually a year, not too long of a year ago, where basically we saw the market rally due to Trump's attempted assassination. Now, what did this tell us, right? Well, in my eyes, this is what's known as markets pricing in. What is pricing in? Markets So, what is markets pricing in? Markets pricing in simply means the market simply wants X thing slash person to do X to benefit the market in a positive way. And as we saw, this is exactly what we saw with Trump, right? Trump is a positive person for the financial markets. Why? Because he is a businessman who knows how markets work. And this is exactly what the market was pricing in, right? We saw the attempted assassination attempt where Trump obviously got shot, stood up like a G, and the market reacted positively to that. And as we saw again, the market did the exact same thing over here. It simply saw Trump and was like, oh my days, Trump is an amazing person for the market. Therefore, we will pump upon the news of him winning. And as we saw, Trump won basically throughout this entire season over here. But due to the fact it was only based upon hype, it wasn't sustainable, which I'll go over in a minute, right? So that's basically the main difference between hype. Now, let's go over drivers. What is an actual driving market? Now, driving markets are a bit different. This is such things known as global liquidity, or M2 money supply, and this is simply it here. Now, ignore my algorithm on this because it's not designed for this at all, so don't even fucking try. But simply, what this chart is what you're looking at currently is what's known as the basically chart for interest rates, right? This is basically what interest rates look like if they were put on a chart, right? Now, if you're an experienced investor, you should know that when interest rates go down, this equals good for markets, because this means people feel more inclined to take out more debt. When people feel inclined to take out more debt, they feel more inclined to take more risk. Therefore, they invest into markets. Therefore, markets go up. And when interest rates go up, it simply means people feel less inclined to take out more debt because debt is now more expensive. When debt is more expensive, people don't take on more risks. When people don't take on more risks, it's harder for markets to pump, right? Now, simply what this is it's simply everything I said, but in reverse. So when this goes up, it simply means interest rates are going down. And when this goes down, it simply means interest rates are going up. Kind of complex, but when you're simply looking at something like Bitcoin, you're simply looking for, is this going up? Yes, therefore Bitcoin's going up. Now, what did we actually see throughout the time of Trump's winning? We actually saw this do absolutely nothing. It honestly, it literally consolidated and it went down 0.88% with a all-time swing low of nearly 2% down. Yet we saw the market rally. This was due to the fact that the hype currently in the market was stronger than the actual drivers of the asset, which is absolutely crazy. And as you can see, another driver of this was actually the Bitcoin ETFs, which we actually saw were actually selling after Trump won, which again is a indication of the drivers of the asset were simply being driven by simply only hype. So as you can see, it was a hype-based rally, and whenever we get hype-based rallies, they're simply unreliable, unsustainable, which is why I chose to take major profit. So, with all this being said, what does this basically mean for Bitcoin now? Well, from here, in my opinion, it's what's known as a whale game. The direction of Bitcoin is clear now. It's up. Reason for that is because of the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, which long term means the US government will buy up a bunch of Bitcoin and never sell it, right? But the path that we get there is not so much. So let's hop on the charts and see what we have in such for the whales moving the price. Right? So before we go over that, I'll actually jump over onto a tweet over here by a very nice man known as Keith Allen. He's basically the founder of Material Indicators Fire Charts, which are basically a program which basically tells us exactly what the whales are doing, if they're accumulating, buying, selling, whatever. Now, I will admit, this program he runs, very expensive. It costs around about $10,000 a year. If you're into that, be my guest, go buy it. I am not affiliated nor connected with him whatsoever. I just simply like his tweets. But simply put it, we've been seeing what's known as a lot of spoofing, which simply means market makers or whales, people with millions and billions worth of cash in the markets, are simply manipulating price to move up and down very frequently. Reason behind this is because they know that this rally isn't done with yet, right? The 99% were allocated at the top and they're currently being pushed out their positions at lower prices now. And this is currently just what we're seeing. The market makers don't want price to go up yet, right? And this is why we're seeing this big sell-off as we have. The big 1% don't want this to, fly yet. We don't have that demand. So the question comes, well, where is this? Well, where will this demand come from? Well, in my opinion, this comes from what's known as the liquidation heat map on CoinGlass, which you can find. This is actually a free product. You can use it. But simply what this tells me is what the 99% of day traders on the futures and derivatives, simply where their orders are being stacked. And as we can see, we have got a lot of liquidations to target down at the lows at 67k. And as we can see, we've got a lot of long liquidations clustered at 16 million. Meaning, if I hop on the charts, this little squiggle I've drawn is most likely to happen, where we have a excess amount of long liquidations mixed with lots of bid orders to happen down at the lows over here, right? So this is exactly what I have planned for my algorithm right now. I am anticipating a basically more downtrend due down to this zone over here. But overall, from this down over here, I really do doubt, I seriously doubt it's going to go any more lower than this. Now, why is this? Reason being, global MM2, right? Let's talk about Trump for a bit. So, people are currently saying, now because Trump's in power, he's ruining the economy and he's putting everyone into a recession. As true as this is, people still don't really understand the plan he has in place. So what is the plan that he's had in place? Well, it's as simple as this. The United States have done absolutely nothing but print money out of thin air, put the country in more debt. And due to this, they have now got to do a lot of refinancing. Now, instead of them going out their way and crashing their economy, simply what Trump is doing is he's putting tariffs on America. So now American can now make a lot of profits through the tariffs. Throughout that, the recession in America will be now kind of postponed, which now means interest rates have an actual chance of rising exactly like we saw over here in 2021, in 2020 should I say. And that is exactly what we're seeing right now. Because Trump is doing this tariff thing, we are now seeing interest rates beginning to rise up a bit, right? And this is exactly what Trump's plan is. And I'll admit, I could not be any more with him whatsoever. So, yeah, this is basically what I see on the charts. Now, obviously, yesterday, if you're looking at the time of this recording, which today is the 4th of April, Trump released his tariffs yesterday, basically throwing a bunch of tariffs on a bunch of countries. And overall, in terms of news sentiment, this is basically the worst it's ever really going to get. And personally, I'm happy with my positions over here. I'm not really wanting to sell, really. And yeah, that's just basically where I stand on the market currently. So yeah, that's basically it for everything to do with the charts. So overall, that's what sums up episode 3, right? All I'm waiting for is low 70Ks, waiting for large bids, and basically until then, I anticipate the market going down. So yeah, that's everything. Again, guys, if you want to gain access to my algorithm, link will be in the description, and I also recommend everyone to actually join my free Telegram that I actually run. If I actually close this down a bit, my free Telegram is over here. It's known as the Profit Halls, where basically I just go over a bunch of things that are on my mind, a few things that I'm looking into, and overall just a bit of free alpha that I may not share on YouTube. So yeah, anyway guys, that's it, and I'll see you all later.